video. He's new. In my last video, I promised you that I was going to talk about my experience with the Whole30. That's the thumbnail still. My book is gross. If you haven't watched my last video, I would highly recommend doing so because it's talking about how I've been changing my ideas about diet and eating and exercise and da 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 da. This video is just going to be about the Whole30. It's an elimination diet essentially. In an elimination diet, you eliminate certain food groups and only eat things that aren't in those food groups for a certain amount of time, and then you reintroduce those food groups to see how they react to your newly eliminated body. So in the Whole30 program, which by the way you can find entirely for free online at Whole30.com, which is one of the reasons I decided to try it. I like that they offer the whole entire program online for free. The Whole30 has you eliminate sugar, including artificial sweeteners, no alcohol, which I don't drink anyway, so no big deal, no grains, that includes rice, wheat, gluten, millet, quinoa, like no grains at all, no legumes, which is beans, peanuts, etc., no dairy, and you're also not allowed to like create sweet treats that are technically Whole30 compliant, like no pancakes that are just banana and eggs. You're also not supposed to step on the scale the whole time. You can weigh in at the beginning, but they don't want you to be focusing on weight loss, which is another reason that I decided to give them a try. A lot of their values about food and eating kind of jived with me. Plus, I had already done an elimination diet eliminating different things. Like in my last elimination diet, I did eat grains, but I cut out a whole bunch of meat and I cut out eggs. The things that were allowed in the Whole30 came out fine for me on my other elimination diet, so I just did this exactly by the book, as they say. I was interested in seeing if I had any sort of reaction to grains. I did not. Turns out grains in general are a-okay for me. Gluten specifically, less a-okay. Rice and non-glutinous grains like quinoa, those kinds of things, totally fine. Gluten is still kind of iffy, and I'm not sure if it's gluten or sugar 100%, but it seems like most things that have gluten in them also have sugar in them, so I find it best to just kind of steer clear of those things. One of the reasons I decided to buy the book in the first place was because it has really scrumptious, I think, recipes in the back, and I knew that none of them would have any gluten or sugar in them, and you'd be surprised how hard it is to find recipes that have neither gluten nor sugar in them. It's like, oh, gluten-free cupcakes that are full of sugar, or oh, sugar-free whatever that's full of gluten. Like, people just make gluten and sugar-free recipes, please. Anyway, I'm gonna throw this shepherd's pie in the ring as my very favorite recipe out of the book. It was the first one I made and remains my favorite of all of them. Like, they're really good recipes, but this was pretty easy to make. Definitely made enough for two with leftovers and just super delicious. A note about the cooking. If you are like me and cooking is super intimidating, the Whole30 is pretty terrified of cooking people friendly. She actually breaks down in the book like how to cook following the recipes, like how to set up your mise en place, which is a French word for, I want to say, everything in place or something like that, but basically like how to get your shit together before you start making your shit. As a person who hates to cook and is bad at it, I found just having that pointed out to me, like, this is how you do this funny thing you've heard on Food Network a billion times. This is how you actually do it. That was good to have, and I appreciated it. It made cooking a whole hell of a lot easier. At the beginning we were super gung-ho and we like made all the dressings and we're cooking every friggin' night, and if you're not a person who enjoys cooking, that gets super old super fast, especially if you're way too lazy to prep the next day after you eat, like I am. So if you're gonna do the Whole30, some of my quick and easy things that I kind of fell back on as staples were just throwing a bunch of ground beef in a pot, browning it, and maybe adding a veggie or two. Sweet potatoes, sweet potatoes, sweet potatoes! You can chop them into slices, cover a cookie sheet with foil, cover the foil with coconut oil, spread out all your little sweet potato discs, salt, garlic pepper, broil it in the oven. Super delicious, really easy. Just pay attention and make sure you don't burn them. I say it's easy. If you find chopping and spreading coconut oil on a cookie sheet to be too advanced for you, and freaking eggs. Lots of eggs, man. Crack them, dump in some spices, scramble them, nom nom, you're good to go. Apples are a really quick and easy snack. I ate a lot of those things, especially after the first like week and a half when the novelty of cooking all the cool recipes had worn off. One thing that's included in both the book and online is the Whole30 timeline, which is how they predict you're gonna feel at any given point based on other people going through the process and them observing it. I honestly did not expect to match up quite so precisely with all of the like, by this day you'll feel this way and this day you'll feel this way. Especially in particular, days 12 to 15, I dream of junk food. Day 12, I freaking dreamed that I ate something. I can't remember, ice cream maybe? It's funny because they're like, some people feel really guilty and some people just chow down and enjoy it. So you shouldn't feel guilty if you eat in your dream. But like, okay, I don't know I'm dreaming when I'm dreaming, and so I feel guilty as shit every time. I eat all that food and I don't even get to enjoy it in my dreams. Lame! Anyway, what's also funny is that Green started out doing it with me, and she ended up stopping. But what's interesting about that is that she ended up stopping on the exact day they predict in the timeline you're likely to quit. Days 10 and 11, the hardest days. We know you are most likely to quit your Whole30 program on day 10 or 11. Day 10, Green was like, I want some Subway, and she got some Subway. I can't blame her. It is difficult. You have to kind of just accept that this is gonna be your life for 30 days. I actually went out of town and on vacation with my mom, and we went to friggin' Cedar Point while I was doing the Whole30, which means that I kept walking past the Dippin' Dots stands, which are my favorite amusement park treat. And they have like Dippin' Dots sundaes now, where it's like a layer of Dippin' Dots, a layer of fudge, a layer of Dippin' Dots, a layer of fudge. And I was like, holy shit, that looks amazing. Why did I decide to do this? I knew I was going out of town. Why did I decide to do it? I don't know. Maybe it's because I was eating like crap and I wanted to change my situation. As for what I found out, I found out much the same that I found out from my last elimination diet. I'm okay with most foods. Dairy makes me phlegmy and kind of gassy depending on the dairy. Butter and milk seem to be better, like easier on my digestive system than cheese, unfortunately. Sugar, still a nightmare. Gluten was iffy because I actually tried to find like sugar-free bread, and it was really hard. I was only able to find some that had been sweetened with fruit juice, which is technically allowed on Whole30, so I figured it was fine to test. I didn't notice any specific bad things, but then I had gluten a few more times during the week, and I got a migraine aura. Not an actual headache, but just like the visual, which only seems to happen if I haven't eaten gluten for a long time and then I eat gluten, so I don't know what that means, but probably not anything good. As far as weight loss, I mentioned in my last video that I wasn't gonna tell you how much weight I lost, but I'll tell you in this video for the sake of like people wanting to do the Whole30 for this purpose. When I started the Whole30, I weighed 186 pounds, and when I weighed in at the end, I weighed 175 pounds, which means that I lost like 11 pounds. That's a lot of weight to drop in 1 month, but every time I cut out sugar after I've been eating sugar for a while, that happens. Like, my body is just like, oh, you're eating the foods we like you to eat and not the foods we hate, so here you go. We're just gonna stabilize and not be horrible anymore. Whether or not it will work for you as a weight loss tool, I don't know, but I did it more to figure out what's going on with my body and just try it, just to try it. One thing I liked when I was doing my last elimination diet is I actually enjoyed having such a limited set of foods to eat. It almost, in a weird way, made it easier to eat. It made it harder because I had to cook all my food and I had to really pre-plan my meals. I had to make sure that I had food with me every time I went to work, and that I had snacks if I was going somewhere so that I wouldn't be hungry and I wouldn't be tempted to eat anything. Like, that requires a lot of paying attention and staying on top of it, and it's not that fun, but it made eating so much easier. Like, what am I gonna eat tonight? Probably cauliflower, probably ground beef, probably sweet potatoes. And she actually mentions that in the book, like, you might find when you get to the end of the Whole30 you don't know what to do with yourself because you can eat food again. But I ended up not having those feelings, and I just got some ice cream the same day that it ended. No, not the same day, like after I'd finished all my reintroduction stuff, I went and had some ice cream. But I didn't feel like I had to go eat ice cream the next day, which sometimes happens to me when I start eating junk. So I just held on to that. I was like, well, I had my ice cream, it was delicious, and I don't feel the desire to eat more, so I'm not going to, even though I can. Here's another bit of advice if you're going to do the Whole30, something that actually, it seems torturous, but for me it kind of helped, was to tell myself, when this ends, I can eat this food, and I will eat this food, and I'm going to have like a big celebration when it's over. The first elimination diet I did, I actually had a bag of chocolates. Like, it did it when Easter ended, and so I went to the store while I was still doing the diet and like bought a bunch of discount Easter candy and just stuck it in a bag that I hid from myself. When the diet was over, I just didn't eat it. It was like, let's see how long I can go before I eat this. But like this time, when we went to Chili's, my mom got a skillet brownie with like ice cream and Heath bar topping on it, and I was like, that looks freaking amazing. When I'm done with my Whole30, I am digging my face into one of those. My Whole30 was officially over in the middle of September, like all the reintroduction and everything, and I still haven't gotten a skillet brownie. I've eaten some other junk that I probably shouldn't have eaten, but I haven't jumped all over that skillet brownie, even though I told myself I could. It's interesting how your tastes change and what you actually want to eat changes, and noticing how you feel. The most subtle shift in how I feel for me has actually been like how agitated I get. And I've noticed this every time I take sugar away from my eating equation. If I eat something bad or off plan or whatever the day before, the next day I find myself a little more snappy and quick to get upset about things, which isn't something I would notice unless I were paying attention for it. And I don't even notice it until after it's happened and I was like, whoa, I just got really mad, or man, I feel really frustrated right now, what's going on? And then I'm like, oh, I ate junk yesterday. Anyway, I feel like I've babbled a lot about the Whole30. I would recommend it. I think it's a good plan. I like the way it's laid out. I like the attitude that the creators take about food, as far as like no food is specifically bad, and they don't demonize food. They just tell you, take these things out and then try them, and then after your diet is over, if you want to eat them, friggin' eat them, but just pay attention. I think that's a really solid way to present a diet plan. It's not like, drink our magic shake that costs you $12,000 a month and you'll be fit forever, you know? You don't have to buy anything special. You don't even have to buy the book. The whole thing's free online. I can just really get behind their model, and I think they're doing good things for people. You can do the whole thing without spending a dime on them, and that's really commendable, I think. Anyway, that is my take on the Whole30. If you have any questions about what it was like, or if you're considering doing it yourself, or if you have done it yourself, please comment in the comments with a comment, and I'll probably answer it, because I try to answer all of my comments. Sometimes I don't, but I try really hard because I appreciate them. I appreciate comments. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you the next time I make a video. Goodbye.